Now there's an opener. That's, of course, the Electric Orchestra, the Electric Light Orchestra. That's a song called Mr. Blue Skies. That's one of those tunes that passed the test of time. What do you think of that? Do you like that?
No.
Good. I like that because it's the ones that make the difference that last.
Yeah,
you know all the crap you play in the wee programme?
Yeah, hardly an opener.
It is an opener.
No, it's about a 20 past 11er.
A 20 past 11er?
Yeah.
I'd beg to disagree. Yeah, okay. But you know one thing that most of DJs and presenters, you have to be very careful when you say DJ. A lot of people get upset. I don't get upset about being called a DJ, but a lot of people do. Pompous people. I don't know what I am. If I find out, I'll let you know. But a lot of people take that off when it stops, before the little bit at the end. I think that's the most important bit. That kind of gathers your thoughts. But a lot of people take it up because they think that people don't want to hear that. But I don't care what the people want to hear or not, because that's the way I am. Good morning, everyone.
I was reading about John Bennett last night.
I'll let him know.
Yeah, I was streaming. I met him here, and
John Bennett, of course, very respected presenter.
Yes, chairman of the Sunday Night.
Chairman of the Sunday Club, which I avoid like the plague, but I know it's a programme that you listen to religiously, if there's such a thing as religion in your home.
Yeah. It's a very good programme.
He plays all that stuff that you like, all the sentimental stuff. I bet you sit there crying all night.
At times I have in the past. Yeah. Yes, I heard songs.
You see, sentimentality, you're fond of the old syrup, and I don't mean a wig.
Yeah. John was on his bicycle.
Was he?
Yes, he was on his bicycle. He got the train from
Belfast.
Belfast.
At BBC Cuts, we may all be on our bicycles soon.
Mm. He got the train from Belfast with his bicycle, and then he cycled to Inishowen, and then he got a ferry somewhere in Inishowen to Scotland, and he cycled around Scotland.
Is this a dream, or is this... Oh,
it's
sorry.
A dream.
I thought maybe perhaps it's something he said on his radio programme.
No. And then he came back, and he was looking very well and very trim and very fit, but very freckly about the head. I noticed that in the dream.
That's an Ulster Scots trait. Many Ulster Scots, when they become bald, have a freckled head. Irish people don't have a freckled head, but it's a Scots thing. It's to do with the old genes. I will never have a speckled head. Neither will you, because we have Catholic genes.
I was reading in the paper yesterday.
That old speckled head is confronting me again. Hold your fire! There's a white woman in there! Sorry, go ahead.
I was reading in the paper yesterday.
Yes. Could you speak a wee bit quicker, please?
Oh, we have an hour and a half to kill.
I know, but that's not the question of killing the hour and a half. It's a question of becoming interesting. What are we some... go ahead.
But it's about you.
What?
It just shows you how advanced you were.
Tell me
how far ahead of the pack you were.
Or the posse, perhaps.
You know.
In what way?
It says that every man should get a garden shed. Yes. Did you see it?
I know.
Just in the paper yesterday.
I saw it, yes.
Did you see it?
I didn't like to draw attention to it because I have a history of garden sheds.
It prevents all sorts of medical problems. They reckon that it's ahead of us in later years. Mm-hmm. And a man going into his garden shed, and they also bringing in other men helps.
Well, I've never thought that was a good idea.
Yes, but
some may do. I
yes.
think you might find it good.
It helps to do a little planting.
It does. I have always thought that a garden shed was necessary for my well-being, and people scoffed and they poo-pooed the idea. But I never faltered. I have my garden shed still, even today.
You were the first man to have a shed.
Indeed, yes. And people laughed and scoffed. They did, because they didn't think I'd be the type of person who would be interested in a garden shed. But I explained to them that it was.
But your garden shed wasn't used for gardening.
No, it wasn't.
No. And your garden shed wasn't in the garden.
No.
It was down in Derry Quay.
Indeed. It was used for extracurricular activities. And what I had in that garden shed was all that any bachelor needs.
But you knew that all those years ago.
I knew that.
When would that have been? The late 60s?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I was way ahead of the
You discovered the garden. You're the first man to discover the garden shed.
Can I explain that to the people who don't understand what this means? There was a time in the... As a matter of fact, may I say this? And I hesitate to say it because it dates me. It was the early 60s.
Oh, was it?
It's like 50 years ago. No, seriously. That's how long it is ago. And
but that would make you...
Stop. Yes, it does. Don't do the math, please. Let them do it at home. Hopefully they have no A-level.
You were working then, you see.
Well...
You were working...
No, it's far later than that. 1965. Hold on a second. Let me find
That's still no good.
Let me find a respectable.
I was being kind to you by saying it was the late 60s.
No, okay. Let me find an acceptable year here.
I think 69's a good year.
No, it's not a good
68.
year. No. I think 1966 World Cup year. No. The year before that, 1965.
No, what does that make you?
It makes me.
Don't.
In puberty. It makes me in puberty. I'm in puberty then. Let me explain what I mean. At that time, this was a very different country, and people had very different ways of passing the time, and people had very different ways of courting. People had very different ways of going out with women, going out with boys, going out with girls, whatever you prefer. And I know there are some of you who don't care one way or the other. There were different ways. For instance, there was nowhere you could go. There's nowhere you could go.
I mean, there's nowhere you could go.
I don't mean a toilet or anything. I mean, there was nowhere you could bring a young lady. You could go to the pictures, right?
You only had your front room.
Oh, I never.
You hadn't got a front room.
But I was only 16.
Yeah, but you didn't have a front room.
We had a front room, but you can't
not.
bring a... What do you mean? How do you know that? How do you know we didn't? We had a front. Of course, we had a front room. Everybody has a front room.
No, but a front.
Everybody has a front room.
Yeah, but you couldn't have had a front room.
Why couldn't I have had a front room? Why not?
Because you lived up the stairs.
But there's a front room upstairs.
You can't have a front room up the stairs.
Yes, you can. It's a
Can
sitting
you,
room.
Janet? Janet says no.
How does she know?
What? You can't have a front room up the stairs.
We had a front room upstairs. It was in the front of the house, but it was upstairs. The front, down below, was a shop.
Yeah.
You can't expect me to sit in the shop and light a fire, do you? Watch the TV and people in shopping.
Which means you had no front room.
I had a front room upstairs on the first floor, okay? But you couldn't bring... If you're 16 years old, you couldn't bring your girlfriend in. You couldn't. There was nowhere you could go. So all you could do was...
You couldn't sneak people into your house?
Of course not. Just because I had to go up the stairs.
I know.
That's why.
Awful for you.
I know. It was bad for me. So all I had to do was... I wasn't all that popular anyway. I'm not as handsome. I wasn't as handsome then as I am now.
Yeah.
I wasn't sexually attractive as I am now.
Yes.
But you see, what happened was that there was nowhere you could go. You could maybe bring a girl to the pictures. You could go for a walk.
Did you ever babysit?
Never babysitted, no. No, that was always a good one. Nobody ever trusted me with their baby. Anyway, you'd go for a walk, or you'd go to the pictures, and maybe you would go up a lane, that kind of thing. Well, I got over all this because I was working in a company, a shipping company. It was my first job, and they gave me the keys to a little hut. Now, my job was to go down to all the boats in the quay, Derry City docks, and take down the names of all the men who were working, and bring them back to the office and supply them to the man who made up their wages. Then he would decide what wages they would receive at the end of that week. It was a dull, pedestrian, mundane job. But they had to leave the people who were working on the docks had to leave their books somewhere central that I could go and collect them. There was a little wooden hut down by the quayside in a very dark little place. They left their hut, they left their books in there. I was given a key to this hut. I used to go down every morning, open the door, collect the books and bring them all down. And then at night, I'd bring the books down again. They didn't finish until about 6 o'clock, so there was no time for me to go back to the office. So they said, you may as well keep the key to that little hut yourself. Right?
Yeah, I know.
Move on. And in that hut was all that every bachelor needs. That's when I first realised that you don't need furniture when you're single. It's only when you're married you need sofas and TVs. Do you know what was in that hut? A bare light bulb.
Yes.
One chair.
Yes.
One table.
Yes. And an electric, single-barred electric fire, I was told.
2 bars.
Oh, luxury.
I didn't like to switch them on at the one time because there was a recession.
Yeah.
So what you could do at that particular time, you'd be going to the pictures with the young lady and you'd say, it's very early to go home. I know a place we can go. And they'd say, what do you mean? I said, I've got a hut down here. You're not even listening when I'm telling you this story.
I am. I was there.
People.
Janet says to me, a caller rings, should Gerry be called Mellors?
You don't know what that means, do you? Lady Charlie's lover. The gamekeeper.
Ah, right.
That's when you must read. You see, you don't know what these people are talking about.
Love books.
And love books?
Yeah.
D.H. Lawrence, love books?
No, I wouldn't read that.
No, don't be reading D.H. Lawrence for
God's
God's sake.
read Lady Chatterley's lover like a big...
Jessie?
Yeah.
Jessie, Jessie, is that what you're just about to say?
Big blouse.
Big girl's blouse, big Jessie, is that what you're trying to say here?
D.H. Lawrence? Legs crossed, sitting reading a book. Not going out the night and reading a book. Not at all.
That's devious. Oh, you can't be sitting and reading a book.
No, but
terrible thing
I'm
to
reading
do.
Lady Chatterley's lover.
Lady Chatterley's lover, I'll have you know, is one of the great classics. There are a few pages in the middle. There's a little hanky-panky. As your father's, your mother's still working. But then again, you can skim over that if you wish.
We were told not to read it.
I had a copy of it down in my hut.
I know you. Enemy Mellors, carry on.
Anyway, I would say to young ladies, I'd say, listen, it seems very early to go home, and it seems an inclement night. I said, as a matter of fact, I have a little place down here. And he says, what do you want? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? I said, I have a small apartment down here that I have the use of. And they say, what do you mean? I said, just down here. It's not too far away. Down the docks here. So I go down the docks and I'd open the door. And say, what's here? And you put on the light. So once you put on the light, you see, you're not afraid anymore. Then you put on the heater. Then you'd sit her down in the chair. And
was there a window in it?
Yes, there was.
Was there curtains?
Yes, there were. There was a little thing you could pull over. And then you see, you'd sit her down in the chair and then you'd dance in front of her. drive her mad with desire, and then you'd put off the light and put on the other bar. Anyway, stop this talk. People out there will think there's something wrong with it.
Dance in front of her.
Well, you know, you dance the seven veils. Tantalise them. Anyway, listen, just goes to show you. Hold on, is this program started yet? And by the way,
well, that's what Colin in Belfast wants to know. Is it a repeat or is it live?
The emails are now fixed. Ken, do you know what Ken did this morning?
How many times are you going to hear this?
No, but see, there are people, new listeners all the time, and you brought it up, and you know you can't just.
The only reason I brought it up is because it's important now. They are recommending that men get sheds.
That's exactly, and I'm just saying.
Yes,
I've been through all that, and also I think it's important to put a little detail onto it. I bet you didn't know how the hut was furnished. I never told that before, and I never really explained how I used it. But I also used to hire it out. They called me Pimp Anderson. Anyway, never mind that. Let's carry on with the programme. Let me just tell the people that the emails are now functioning. Do you know what Ken did today? A very moving thing.
What?
I was sitting upstairs, before you came in, and I was sitting upstairs alone, reading the papers, and Ken came in, he said, everything okay? Mm-hmm. So I fell off the chair, and when I picked myself up off the ground, I said, yes, fine, Ken. He said, can you get your emails today? I said, I don't know. He said, come downstairs with me and we'll try and get them. And he brought me downstairs, and we got them up.
And to his hut?
No, that's tonight. No, he got them up. So Ken has got the email. So I take back all I said about Ken yesterday, because Ken was under pressure yesterday.
Yes, you were very cruel to Ken.
I was cruel to Ken, yes, and indeed many people have drawn it to my attention that I've been more than cruel, nasty, I suppose would be the word I'm looking for. Anyway,
there was nought on telly last night, apart from football.
Stop.
That's the only thing that was on television last night.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The programme is just about to start. The number to ring if you want to contact this programme, and there's no reason at all why you can't, because willing ears are waiting to hear what you have to say. 08459 555 678. Same number as the Fat Boys, but different outcome. The email thing is working. Gerry.Anderson@bbc.co.uk, and there is a text messaging service which one may avail oneself it's 81771. And this is very important to the show. A gentleman writes to me and he said, I just wanted to drop you a quick note to let you know and to thank you for your contribution regarding two friends making contact again with the help of your show. About a year ago, somebody contacted you regarding someone in Germany trying to make contact with someone in Northern Ireland, me, because they'd lost my address and they'd ended up contacting a man called Paul Irwin, who they thought to going a Google search for P. Irwin. So with a few contacts and a lot of time later, I finally managed to make contact with a man called Karl Groth in Germany, and we are now exchanging emails again and are very back in touch. Please read the attached note. Thank you it's a nice example of how social networking and good old-fashioned radio journalism and human tenacity can work together to deliver a successful outcome. You see, there's another one.
Could you help me get in contact with a man?
Of course. What kind of a man would you like?
A man that I once worked with in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
He was a man from Jamaica, a man by the name of Joe Wees.
Joe Wees, man.
Joe Wees, yeah. Joe Wees was an electrician.
Was he?
And Joe Wees took me under his wing. And he said to me, he says, you shall be my apprentice. And for a while, I worked for Joe, and I was his apprentice electrician, and he showed me how to wire up 3-point plugs.
Was Joe a black man?
Yes.
From Jamaica?
Mm-hmm.
And you forged a friendship?
Yeah.
And when was the last time you saw him?
Late 60s. I would say early 70s. Yeah, late 60s.
What's his name again?
Joe Wees.
Wees, how do you spell that?
I think it was W-E-I-S-S, is it? I-E-S-S-S.
Device, maybe?
No, Wees. He pronounced it Wees.
Do you remember people used to have confusion about that? Do you remember a long time ago? Remember Tarzan was Johnny Weissmuller? How did you pronounce his name?
We call him Johnny Weissmuller.
Weissmuller. It's because probably up in Germany it'd be Johnny Weissmuller. Weissmuller. Yeah. Anyway, Johnny. So what's his name? Joe Ease?
Joe Wease.
What did you call him? Wease.
Joe Wease. That's what he called himself.
Wouldn't it be great if he was listening and he rang this program?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing?
And he says, "I remember you.
I remember you."
And I remember the last job that we had to do. We were putting lights onto tables in the restaurant of the nightclub.
How exciting!
And I had a drill. I had a Black and Decker drill.
Had you?
It was good, so it was, And I was boring the hole in the centre of the table, and then you would get your flex.
Yes.
You'd put your flex up the hole, you see, and then
yes.
And then you would get your
and then you'd. The Irish music comes to the rescue. Give me the battle paddy. No man talks to me like that. Give me the holly, give me the lilt. This is Andy Irvine. It's called Abo. No, it's called Three Huntsmen. I love this song. It's every man for himself and more woman from the porter in the bed. More porter from the woman in the bed.
It's of three huntsmen, brave and bold, as I have heard them say. They took 500 guineas, all on one market day. And as they rode home together o'er the Wicklow mountains high, oh, it's hold your horse, cries Johnson, for I hear a woman cry. I will not stop, says Wilson, I will not stop, says he, and nor will I stop, says Gilmore, for of them afraid we'll be. But Johnson getting off his horse and searching the woods all round, till he found a naked woman with her hair pinned to the ground. Oh woman dear, how came you here for to span? Who that brought you here on this May morning with your hair pinned to the ground? It was three bold and struggling men with swords keen in hand, who that brought me here this May morning with my hair pinned to the ground. But my father, he's a wealthy man, and your kindness he'll repay. My life I place all in your hands, protect me, sir, I pray. Well, Johnson, being a man of his own, being valiant, brave and bold, he took off his coat from off his back for to keep her from the cold. And Johnson getting on his horse, the woman got on behind. They rode down that lonesome valley, their fortunes for to find. And as they rode on along the way, as fast as they could ride, she threw her fingers to her lips and she gave three shivering cries. Out sprang three bold and struggling men with swords keen in hand, who commanded him to tarry, commanded him to stand. Well, I will stand, says Johnson, I'll stand then, says he, for I never was in all me life afraid of any three. And Johnson killing two of them, not minding the woman behind. As he was at the other one, she stabbed him from behind. The day was free and the market day, the people all passing by could have seen this awful murder, could have seen poor Johnson die.
song. What a great song. What a great singer. That's Andy Irvine. Remember the time Andy Irvine came into Belfast and Blackstaff during that radio day? Wasn't he fantastic?
He was indeed.
Oh, he was fantastic. You couldn't believe how talented he was. You know, sometimes people come in. You get that with people like Christy Moore and Andy Irvine. It's just so coincidental that the two of them played in the same band. No, or did they? Maybe they didn't. I'm not sure, actually.
What's the song about?
It's about three huntsmen. I kind of know what it's about, but I don't know now at the moment.
No,
but when you,
of course you don't know.
when you come across people with real talent, it kind of scares you in the studio. You know, you hear it live when you walk into the studio. It's a thing that you can't explain to people really. You know, a lot of people come into the studio and they play and they're okay and they're good, you know. But sometimes some people come in with an extraordinary talent and it hits you up the face, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
Yes.
So it really hits you up the face.
No.
And you don't know what it is. You don't understand what it is. It's just pure raw talent. It just hits you right up the face. Now, you get it with Andy Irvine. Remember we got it that day? Remember afterwards we just said, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Just a guy sitting with a guitar. Christy Moore is the same. He's in this programme not this Friday, but next Friday. He's the same. Every time Christy Moore goes in the studio, I just sit there. I'm just blown away because it's just pure raw talent. Just hits you right up the face.
Well, can I tell you a sound that will live forever in my memory?
The ching of a cash machine?
No.
What?
No. There's two actually, but there's one in particular, and it was during your TV show.
Yes.
Blackstaff Studio.
Yes. Long time ago.
No, but
Yes.
the sound didn't. I know. I watched the program afterwards at home a couple of days later, and the sound that I heard in the studio didn't come across. At home.
Absolutely. I know what you. Yeah.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
And the best sound that will ring forever, ever in my memory was the sound of the Field Marshal Montgomery pipe band playing in the Blackstaff studio.
You see, you cannot record a pipe band, especially the drums. When you hear a pipe band, the sound, yeah. But see, these are the sounds that inspired armies. That's what bagpipes were. They were called to battle.
Yeah.
See, when you were standing there with your pike or wherever it was, and you're facing some bunch of Aborigines from somewhere on the far side of your hill, and if it's every man for himself, you needed something to spur you on, and the fellow would go, and away you went. Every man for himself. That's what it was for. The hairs end up on the back of your neck, and you're ready to do battle. But you can't. Nobody who hasn't heard a pipe band in an enclosed space can explain or describe what that's like. I understand exactly what you mean.
You see, so I couldn't wait to see the program again, and
it was no
think,
good.
and I said, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
People don't understand unless you're there. You say, no, you want to hear this.
When you hear a band like that, a pipe band, you hear the drums. When you hear the drums, they go. But when you hear it on TV, it's just. That's all you hear. Yeah. Anyway, listen. A number of people have contacted me through the medium of email, and are quite concerned about your leaving. Have you reconsidered?
I'm reconsidering. What
is the basis of your deliberations?
Well,
It's the question of money. Question of money.
I've talks. Talks will take place.
You know how futile they will be, but you understand that it's your decision and your decision alone.
Yeah.
I just want to know what what state you're in.
No, there's talks.
Okay.
Talks.
When will we know?
You'll probably know on Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not in, we'll know.
Yeah.
If you don't see you in the morning. From your listener in France, Joni White Miller translated pop. That's what it says. Does that mean anything to you?
Not a thing. Look at the time.
I know. I see it.
On 92 to 95 FM
and 1341 medium wave.
This is BBC Radio Ulster.
It's 11 o'clock and with the BBC News, this is Keith Burnside. Teaching unions have begun fresh talks with the government about changes to their pensions in the wake of yesterday's mass strike across the public sector. Unions say 2 million people took part in the strike to protest against proposals which would mean many staff pay more, work longer and receive less. Ministers say talks are making good progress, but as she went into today's meeting, the NUT's General Secretary Christine Bloor said there was a lot to resolve.
The fact is that as things stand at the moment, the cost ceiling that we have been offered by government is inadequate. And the fact that people keep on talking about it being a generous offer is clearly wrong. But we are determined to see if we can make some progress in these talks with government. At the moment, we wouldn't characterise them as negotiations. We would say they're talks. We hope that they will turn into negotiations.
Some Belfast City Council bin men who took part in the public sector strike will get overtime on Saturday to empty the bins that should have been collected yesterday. A council spokesperson said they'd be offering 24 staff an extra day's work at 1.5 times the normal rate of pay. 4 masked men, one armed with a crowbar, have threatened a man and a woman during a robbery in the Gilnhirk area of East Belfast. It happened at a house on the Rocky Road at around 8 o'clock last night. The property was ransacked, but it's not clear if anything was taken. European foreign ministers are meeting to discuss whether to impose further sanctions against Iran. They're considering how to respond to the Iranian nuclear programme and the attack on the British embassy in Tehran on Tuesday. The EU's foreign policy chief, Lady Ashton, spoke to reporters as she went into the meeting in Brussels.
We will be discussing the terrible situation of the storming of the UK embassy in Tehran, and as you know, we are proposing further sanctions, and there is an enormous amount of support for the UK in this dreadful experience that they've had.
Sport now. Here's Grant Cameron.
Rory McIlroy is in a 3-way tie for the lead after day 1 of golf's Hong Kong Open. He carded a 6-under 64, while Gareth Maben is 2 shots behind. In South Africa, Graham McDowell's 1-under after 4 holes of his opening round at the Nedbank Challenge. He's 2 shots off the pace. Darren Clark is 2 over through 6. Martin O'Neill and Mark Hughes are leading contenders for the Sunderland job. Steve Bruce has been sacked. After knocking out Manchester United at Old Trafford, Crystal Palace face Cardiff City in the Carling Cup semi-final. Liverpool play Manchester City, and Wendy Hoovenhagel and the Great Britain team will face New Zealand for gold in the women's team pursuit at the Track World Cup event in Colombia later, after finishing second in qualifying.
And what can we expect on the weather front? Angie Phillips.
A cool day after the chilly start, highs around 7 or 8 Celsius, although there'll be some decent dry and bright spells too. The best of the wintry sunshine towards Down, Armagh and South Antrim. A few showers will drift inland at times, but most of the showers will be confined towards the north coast and the northwest. They'll ease tonight when it'll become clear, cold and frosty for many.
BBC News.
BBC Radio Ulster. Travel news.
In Lauren, roadworks are expected to finish today on the Upper Carncastle Road, which is closed between Greenway Road and Ballycraigie Road. In County Tyrone, the Kildrum Road in Dromore is closed between the A32 Clanabogan Road and Camderry Road until Sunday night. And in Bangor, the Windmill Road is closed from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. each day for the next week. That's between the Donaghadee Road and Grimsport Road. Aileen Moyna reporting.
Travel news on BBC Radio Ulster.
On Talkback with Wendy Austin today, democracy? What democracy? Were Northern Ireland questions hijacked by MPs from England, Scotland and Wales? Then Michael Deane wants the banks shifted and a proper cafe culture round Belfast City Hall. Is that a good idea? And time and a half for emptying the bins missed on strike day? What's that about? Also on the programme, Jeremy Clarkson. Take the strikers out and shoot them. What is he on? And are you doing the Christmas shopping? When is it free to park? You can find out and join the debate on Talkback at 12.
Jeremy Clarkson, eh? People who watch Top Gear should be fined, I think. It's the 1st of December. You know what this means?
They told me pa-ram-pam-pam-pam, a newborn king to see, pa-ram-pam-pam-pam. Our finest gifts we bring, pa-ram-pam-pam-pam, to lay before the king, pa-ram-pam-pam-pam, ram-pam-pam-pam, ram-pam-pam-pam. Oh, hi, oh, I have no gift to bring. That's fit to give the king. And so I'll play for you. On my drum. Hey, yeah. Mary nodded. Pa-rum-pum-pum-pum. Hey, the ox and lamb kept time. Pa-rum-pum-pum-pum. I played my drum for him. I played my best for him. And then he smiled at me. Me and my drum. Hey, hey, me and my drum. Hey, me and my drum. Maria Yusuf and Nancy, Maria Yusuf and Nancy, Maria Yusuf and Nancy, Maria me and my drum, hey, me and my drum, hello, yeah, me and my drum.
Of course, that's a song called Everything Is Broken, and that was originally on, well, a version of that was originally on Bob Dylan's album Oh Mercy. But that's an alternative version, and that can be got on Bob Dylan, Telltale Signs, the Bootleg Series Volume 6, Rare and Unreleased Tracks from 1989 until 2006, which to my mind is by far the best Bob Dylan compilation that you could ever get. And also before that was a song called, of course, Little Drummer Boy, from my favourite, and by no means, I don't qualify that at all, my favourite Christmas album, which is called Mr. Omundi's #1 Singers, Christmas Songs from Nairobi, which is fantastic, which was brought out a couple of years ago by Concern. And all you have to do is, if you're looking for that, and I suggest you get this one, if you're going to buy anything at all at Christmas, buy this. These are African singers singing all kinds of stuff. Mr. Omundi's, Omondis. That's like Omundi's wine. You get Omundi's wine. Omundi's I'm funny, aren't I? Aren't I? Mr. Omundi's #1 Singers, Christmas Songs from Nairobi. People concerned again, and people want you to stay.
Yes.
You nearly said it.
I'll stay.
You're going to stay.
No, I'll wait.
No, your instinct is that you'll probably stay.
I'll wait for the talks. I'll wait for the talks.
Please can you wish Morris Dawson from Laurel Vale, Tandragee, a very, very happy birthday. From Mervyn, Ian, Linda and Sharon and all the family. The grandkids send them lots of kids, kisses and hugs. That's from Sharon, of course. And gentleman writes to me and he said, in Andersonstown, talking about courting. And it's not an unusual, I don't know what to say. People say you're going out with somebody.
Walking out?
That's First World War, that is. People used to say, they're courting. You know, that's people don't say that anymore. Courting? People don't say. What do you say? Well, a person of 19, if going out, say, what are they saying? Going out with her. Can't get out with her. Going out with them now.
They're in relationships, James.
Wise up. They don't say that they're in a relationship.
No, I think that's
I'm in a relationship. No. Where are you going tonight? I'm going out with Tina. Her and I have a relationship. They don't say that.
No, I think that's Janet. I didn't say it.
Well, tell her to keep her nab out.
I think they just go with one another.
That's what I think. So, well, they do that anyway, don't they? In Andersonstown, we took the girls behind Gransia shops. Many's a good time we had. But sometimes, good point coming up here. I'm going to ask you about this. But sometimes it got a bit crowded, and you had to move over a bit with another couple beside you. But that was okay, because if you didn't...
Never.
Hold on. It said it got a bit crowded, but it was all right, because if you were inexperienced in the art of courting, you'd watch the person beside you and copy what they did.
No, I don't believe that.
Why not?
Not at all.
Why not?
No.
If you don't... Imagine you're 15 or 16, right? The first time ever, you're behind the Gransia shops. A young lady, come on round here, and they come round, and you don't know what to do. And there's about half a dozen other couples. You want them to be there,
No, you
and then
do
you copy.
not.
But you can copy. But if the fella's getting on right, it's getting on okay, you could copy him.
No, you'd watch.
And they'd call the police.
Yeah.
No,
I remember.
Come on.
I remember, having little dens, having little places where you went, and it was your wee den, your wee doorway.
What are you, some kind of a vixen?
Oh, but where did you go? All right, when you didn't have your wee garden shed, where did you go? Tell me, come on.
Always had my hut.
No, you didn't always have the hut.
I had my hut since I was 16.
No.
I had it for 2 years and then I went away.
Where did
All the time I lived in Derry, Stoke, Londonderry, I had access to a hut.
You had no girls round you.
I know I hadn't. I've got them now, but no good now.
What I mean, in your area, where you lived, you wouldn't have been many girls.
What do you mean there wouldn't have been many girls? Well, was it some kind of a monastery or something?
No, but
I just lived in an ordinary place with people living there. There were girls around me.
You lived in the centre of the town.
Yes, and everybody used to live in the centre of the city.
Yeah,
then.
but the only girls around you were the girls with the plates of chips.
You mean the hookers?
Yes.
Oh, what's wrong with them?
Yeah, but,
I've never seen anything wrong with hookers. I was brought up with hookers. How dare you?
And what I'm saying to you is this.
People think...
You didn't have a street.
I had a street.
No, you hadn't.
I had a street with people living in it.
You didn't have a street where you had played skipping or you
I
played...
did.
You did
I
not.
did.
You played football and
Just
things.
because the hooker stood on the top of it didn't make any difference. It was only at night. They stood
what
there.
I'm saying is there was
They were in bed all day.
houses. There were no houses.
There
really.
were houses. There was the street that I lived in. See, this is very personal.
I know.
The street that I lived in, there were all shops, but people lived above the shops then in those days. You didn't see them.
You didn't have a back lane.
I know I didn't have a back
Well,
lane.
that's the point that I'm trying to get to.
That's why I needed a wooden hut.
You'd know where to go.
Exactly.
Well, that's my
That's
point.
my point too.
But people had back lanes and people had certain doorways.
Had you a doorway?
I had a doorway.
Is it still there?
It is.
Do you ever go up and look at it?
Yeah, I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you ever go and put your hands around like that and pretend you...
No. No, this was a door. This was a door that led to a factory. It was
Anyway.
a factory doorway.
The slightly older you got, we're talking about behind the Grandshaw shops here in Aldersonstown. The slightly older you got, then you were permitted to join the courting club behind the gymnasium at the local Christian Brothers school. Oh, the Christian Brothers wouldn't like that. On the Glen Road, but the brothers caught on, you see, and fixed the hole in the fence when they climbed through. Brothers don't like that kind of carry on. Well, they said they didn't at that time.
Right.
Anyway, the good old, bad old days. I often wonder at David Beckham calling his children after the place they were conceived. For example, Brooklyn. Do you know that, don't you? Mm-hmm. And I can't recall any kids around our way being called Grandshaw shops. But anyway, do you know what I was thinking? If anybody's introduced to somebody called Wooden Hut Anderson.
There's a man on one.
Do you know the worst thing that ever happened to me? Speaking of courting, keep thinking of places to go. When I was in bands and stuff like that, I think I told this story before, but it's in my mind all the time. And it just goes to show you the things that can happen to you. We were in the Flamingo in Ballymena.
Right.
You know, many people will remember that. Lovely little girl, I met her afterwards. And we went for a little walk, a little girl from Ballymena. I remember her name now, but I won't give her name because it might embarrass her. And we went for a little walk. We didn't go too far, you see, because you used to always say to them, I can't go too far from the dance hall because, I'd get lost. I don't know it here and the boys won't wait for me. Mm-hmm. That's because you didn't want to walk anywhere, you see. So I eventually ended up behind this advertising hoarding, right?
Right.
Which wasn't too far away. So I throws the wing round her and having a little kiss, you see. And a fella came over and peed me leg. The fella was walking, peed on me. And what can you say?
There's a man on one.
There's a person enjoying the show. I must write to them.
Get their name and address.
They are. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Gerry.
Oh, Geordie, how are you?
I'm as good as you are.
Well, I hope that's the case because I'm fine.
I got a lovely letter this morning.
Did you?
Uh-huh.
From whom?
Well, it says at the bottom, guess who?
Well, they used to be a very famous band. Anyway, I don't know. Tell me now, did you read it? And you want to give me any indication of what the contents are?
Well, today you're my darling.
Today
the best
you are...
I've ever known.
What?
I love to hold you in my arms.
Yes.
And have you for my own.
Oh.
To kiss you every day and night. Wow. And hold you close to me.
Yes, yeah.
To whisper things in your ears. Yes. For I love you, don't you see?
Yeah, really.
But I know this can never be without Rocky and Rusty and Lady too. And Stanley and Whitey, your old goots. because of who I am. I guess I'll just have to dream. It's the only way I can. But if you ever change your mind, I hope you'll be the one today to kiss and hold you close to me and take this old name away.
How romantic is that?
What?
How romantic is that? Is it signed?
What?
Is it signed?
What?
Is it signed?
No, guess who?
That's all it says.
Ah.
Do you think it's a woman?
I would say so. It could be Janet.
Right. Janet, is Janet writing to... No, this is great. And you think this is genuine enough?
Oh, aye, surely.
Well, it seems to be a
first-class stamp.
Yes, and a first-class stamp. And also it knows the name of your pets and animals.
Aye.
Whoever this person is knows you intimately, or maybe I say...
Somebody close, somewhere.
So there's someone out there yearning for your body.
I don't know.
Isn't that great? How could you... What?
Where's the post? Where's it posted?
I'm just about to ask him to give me a minute.
Oh, right.
Did you keep the envelope? Hello?
I did.
Did you look at the envelope and see if there was a postage mark on it?
It was.
Well, what did it say on it?
County Tyrone.
Oh, Tyrone amongst the bushes.
Aye.
Hey, so we've narrowed it down to Tyrone.
Hey, your pa, your
That
ma-
Tyrone. Well, listen now. What have you got to say to this person?
Well, what can I say?
Can you say... Well, see, this person who wrote to you will obviously be listening, I would say, because that person would always suspect that maybe perhaps during the course of our conversations that you may mention this. And that person
How
will...
did you know all my animals?
Well,
Big
you see-
Rocky and Lady and Birthday.
See, one who listens carefully to this programme on a regular basis...
Stanley and Whitey and the goat.
I mean, see, you've mentioned all those on this programme. Anyone
she
listening
did.
assiduously and making notes could actually build a picture.
You
In the
must
same
have
way,
done that.
the same way, if you read the book Ulysses, if you've never been in Dublin...
Oh, aye, how your wish. Aye, you weren't, you know that big shop, you weren't, your book wasn't in it.
what shop is this that my book wasn't in? Asda?
No.
What?
The bigger one.
A bookshop?
Aye.
Mm-hmm. Waterstones? Dillon's? What? Come on. Give me the names of these people. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
The big bookshop.
Easton's.
Easton's?
Easton, aye.
Yes, well, where's Easton's? There is no... Oh, there is an Easton's, yes.
I couldn't find your book.
Could they not? Well, it's a minority taste. I'm very disappointed in the sales of that. I thought maybe perhaps it would do better. But then again, I'm labouring at another one. It's a long time coming now. I'm having trouble with this one.
Hey.
But you know what they say? If you write a book and it's easy, it's no good.
No, well, that's right.
The harder it is, the better. Anyone who writes and enjoys it, you can't read it. Because people send me stuff all the time.
Bottle of stuff you're sending.
Hold on, let me just say this before I go any further, because it just came to me. A lot of people now, for some strange reason, they send me things that they've written. You know, maybe an essay, or maybe they send me maybe 4 or 5 pages, or maybe 20. Somebody sent me 100 pages one time of a book and asked me what I think of it. And they always say the same thing. They said, I really enjoy writing. So whenever I say to them this, they don't understand. As if you enjoy writing, stop doing it.
But you're a good, Terry, you're a good writer.
Well, if you enjoy writing, you're no good at it.
Oh, but you are
Because
definitely good.
Oh, thank you, Geordie.
Is that your theory?
You put them all...
Is that just your theory, Aunt Gerry?
Pardon?
Was that the first or second book you wrote about Stoke City?
No, the first one.
Huh?
Sean, yes. It's my theory, because really, if you do it well, it's hard work.
Yeah.
You enjoy it. I mean, I know lots of writers will do anything rather than write. You know, they'd wallpaper their bedroom.
Yeah.
Because it's such hard work.
You put a minor Walt and Matilda around the volleyball.
That's right. Geordie, this is great to have an unknown admirer, may I say, at your advanced age.
I know.
You know, it's
well, I'm not many steps behind you.
Well, have you reached the old, the old 7?
I'm coming 73.
Well, you see, I didn't like to say that. You see, that's... People regard that as being... Do you know what I'm going to tell you? I heard an interview yesterday. Sean, I don't know if you can... if you heard this.
Right.
There was a lady on yesterday being interviewed. I don't know if it was Radio Ulster or what. And she was a teacher, and she was saying that she was going to have to work until she was 67. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you couldn't possibly do that. She said, I'll be on a Zimmer frame. She said, how can you possibly do anything when you're 67? What do these people think? Do you think you shall suddenly die when you become 50? I was quite upset by that, because there'll come a time when I'll be 67, and I hope maybe that perhaps that I'll be not too different than I am today. And you know how well honed and attractive I am today. So yeah, I can't imagine.
But did Geordie ever think of retiring?
From what?
Well, Geordie's worked all his life.
No, he hasn't.
Yes, Geordie, haven't you worked all your life?
From I was 14 years of age.
What were you doing?
He's been working in the fields. He's been working with animals,
potatoes.
gathering potatoes.
That's only working for himself.
That's hard work.
And snedding turnips.
There you are.
Sned. Many people know how
cutting
to.
an acre of corn with a scythe.
How many people know how to sned a turnip today?
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
I know how to sned a turnip. And
could you mow an acre of corn with a scythe?
I couldn't do that. No, I used to watch my uncle
And you know what you always had to do?
What?
An old sock and keep your sharpened stone dry.
What's that? Sorry.
That's right.
Have an old sock.
Yes.
And your sharpened stone in it.
Your sharpstone.
Yeah, your sharpened stone.
Oh, that's sharpstone.
You take it out of the sock, keep it
Sorry,
dry.
Sorry, I had a little trouble getting back into the Neolithic age there.
Yeah, no.
The sharpstone.
But you're on about a man working. There's a man who's worked all his life from a wee boy. He worked hard.
And
I left school, Sean. I left school on a Friday and I started working on Monday.
And I have to say, Geordie, whenever I've seen you, you're a model of physical health.
It's as hard as nails.
It's as hard as nails.
Yeah.
Because I remember I brushed up against you once, and it was like brushing up against a stone wall.
Stonewall Jackson.
You're a hard man. Yeah. Anyway, what about this woman, do you think?
I don't know. That's the big question.
We need to flush her out. Well, listen, could I say on behalf of you, speaking through my body, could I say to that lady that she's welcome to visit you?
Oh, surely the half door is always open.
It's getting out's the problem.
She got dung out in my bed.
Okay. No, she doesn't have to work. I mean, you'd welcome her just as an occasional visitor.
I'll make her a cup of tea.
Just to feel the thing out, see what's happening, see if there's anything in this, see if the flag is up the flagpole, because there may be the beginnings of maybe a permanent relationship, or maybe
you
perhaps
wouldn't know.
Maybe just a fling. Anyway, Geordie, I wish you all the best, and I hope that this phone call has helped to flush out.
Yourself, John. You done well in that old marathon.
Thank you very much indeed.
You did. You done well in it.
Many people scoffed.
No, but I think you done well.
Thank you. I did. I know I did. Thank you very much, Geordie.
Bye-bye.
God bless you. Here's a fine singer, Ryan Kelly. Many people may remember this song from Juliet Turner. I don't think she ever recorded it.
You can have my heart, but it isn't you. It's been used and broken and only comes in blue. It's been down a long road. It got dirty on the way. If I give it to you, can you make it clean? Wash the pain away. You can have my heart if you don't mind broken things. You can have my love, don't mind these tears. But I heard that you make all things new, so I'll give these pieces all to you. If you want it, you can have my heart. So beyond repair, there's nothing I could do. Tried to fix it myself, but it was only worse when I got through. Then you walked right into my darkness, and you speak words so sweet, and you hold me like a child till my frozen tears just fall at your feet. don't mind broken things. You can have my love if you don't mind these tears. But I heard that you make all things new, so I'll give these pieces all to you. If you want it, you can have my heart. But I heard that you make all things new, so I'll give these pieces all to you.
That's Ryan Kelly. Great singer. That's from an album, his new album, which is called In Time. And that track is, that's familiar with people. I always associate that with Oma, of course. Broken Things, sung originally by Julia Turner, but written by someone else. I can't remember her name. That's Ryan Kelly is from the Moy in County Tyrone. And he was part of Phil Coulter's Celtic Thunder.
Oh, wow.
Which explains, I think, why he sings with a slight southern accent.
Julia Turner did record that.
Oh, did she really?
Yes, John, Across the Bridge of Hope, we're told.
Oh, that was a charity album.
Yeah.
Was, but she never recorded commercially. I mean, she never actually. I remember talking to her about that. She never actually released it as a commercial single because she didn't want to be seen from making money from it, which is very admirable of her. That's right. Across the Bridge was a tribute album, not a tribute album, but it was a fundraiser for the victims, wasn't it?
Yes, right.
Yeah, and she did it. But I never heard that. I missed that. Did you hear it? I'd like to hear her singing that. Yeah. It's funny now that Ryan, I hope I'm not being cruel to Ryan, but he's got a slight southern accent there, and that's probably because, whenever he toured America with Celtic Thunder, and they expect that, don't they? They expect a soldier to talk like that. They expect like that. So he probably developed that. So my advice to him was, drop the southern accent. There's no need for it. Sing in your own accent. Julia Turner, she sang that song in her own accent, and it was very impressive.
There's a man on.
Ask me what I'm talking about.
There's a man on too.
Is there? Hello, good morning, man on two.
Good morning, Gerry. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great, glad to hear it.
Can we do anything for you at this particular juncture?
You can indeed, Gerry. You can get a little bit of publicity, but basically, it's what I can do for you. I'm really giving you a chance to redeem yourself. Summer of 2010, which isn't that terrible long ago, myself and a crew of people from Tubber Productions were making a series for TG Carr, and we were doing a programme on Derry, and we happened to meet you by accident in a lovely restaurant. You were finishing, we were just starting.
Yes.
And you were wearing Geordies with no laces, if memory serves me right.
Yes.
And yeah, I introduced you to myself. I said, oh yes, you're the TG4 boy, comes on the radio every so often. I said,
that's right.
Correct. And he said, yeah, we talked about doing something together at one point, but it never really happened. And I said, that's also correct.
That's right.
And he said, look, why don't I meet you tomorrow for coffee and we can go through things?
Yes.
And I said, but will you really do it? And he goes, of course I will. When I say I'm going to do something to do it. So you took my card. You said, I'll call you tomorrow morning and we'll meet for a coffee and we'll take things further. And I haven't heard from you since.
No, sorry, I apologise. I don't know how that happened. No, I know who you are. Yeah.
Did you know what it was gutsy? Because I looked at the whites of your eyes and I saw sincerity, and I said to myself, he is going to phone me. And the next day we had a break and everybody was going for a coffee and they were all slagging me, and I said, no, he's not coming. He's big mates with Gerry Anderson. Gerry's taking my out for a coffee. And then he came back after the coffee and I was still sitting there.
I'm sorry. I must apologise. Something untoward may have cropped up.
Yes, I'm sure.
I apologise.
We will do it some other time. But that programme that we made in Derry is being transmitted tonight on TG Carr at 8 o'clock. It's called Taishkin at Tuya.
Yes, no, tell me what it's about.
Well, basically, it's an overview of the cultural fabric and diversity of Derry, basically. Looking at some stories. Okay, we hit the obvious ones, the walls of Derry, the history of them, Lundy, what happened to him. Yeah. But we also looked at some other things, for example, the links of Donegal, the people going off on the Derry boat to various parts of the world, Scotland, whatever, and coming back and dancing the Maggie Picky dance, which I hadn't heard of, on the quay before they headed back to Donegal. We also did a piece on the surrender of the U-boats in Derry, and a man was there who remembers that, and he was playing in those boats, which I find unbelievable. And then we did a piece with the great Brian Mullen, who you're very familiar with, in BBC Radio Ulster. And he told us about William Coppin and his shipbuilding background in Derry, and also his daughters coming back from the death in an operation to locate the remains of Lord Franklin. And the song that evolved arising from that story, and he sings the song for us. So that's a flavour of what it is.
Oh, great. Captain Coppin.
And when we were making it, we didn't know. Derry was in for the City of Culture competition, and we didn't know the outcome. But fortunately, the programme wasn't transmitted yet, so we were able to build that in, and we were delighted that Derry won. And this is kind of a preamble from the Irish language perspective of what Derry has to offer next year. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things about this city and is that everywhere you look, there's something memorable. Now, for instance, the street that I was born in, Captain Coppin, the fellow whom you remember, he was once the biggest shipbuilder in the world. And he died in penury on the other side of the street where I lived. And also, where I live now, I can look out the window and see the very place where the German U-boats surrendered in 1945. What a wonderful...
Why did he not really get the proper recognition from the Derry people, or is that what we're all about?
Well, you may well ask yourself why I don't get the proper recognition from the Derry people. They're thran, that's why. What time is that on tonight? What time? Oh, sorry, we're losing this man. Sorry, we've lost him. What time did he say that was on tonight?
8 o'clock, Janet says.
Okay, right. We shouldn't be publicising all the programmes that aren't BBC, but after all, it's worthwhile. So I see no reason at all why we shouldn't do it. Because after all, we're all in this world together.
John's on one.
Is he? Yeah. Hello, good morning, John.
Good morning, Gerry.
How are you today? Wow.
I'm the best.
Sorry, what's that? That's serious noise there. It's okay, it's gone away now. Yes, go ahead, Go ahead.
I understood you were to have an article on your programme about favourite Christmas films.
Well, I think that was mooted by Mr. Coyle yesterday. You didn't seem as depressed yesterday.
No, it was Juliet...
not Juliet Turner? Juliet Turner?
No, it was Joel Taggart.
Never mind him.
Joel Taggart was to ask you this morning at 10:30 what your favourite Christmas film was.
Joel Taggart has this odd idea that you need content in the programme, so he plans things. So he knows what he's going to talk about, and he works things out and asks people about certain things he's thought about. We never do that, because it seems a waste of time. What was he going to... Sorry, what was he going to... Sorry, go ahead.
Could I mention The Great Escape? I mean, it's the most frequent one that's shown.
The only reason people regard the Great Escape as being a Christmas film, which it isn't, is because it was always shown because the BBC bought it, and they showed it year after year after year after year. I could nearly ride that motorbike myself.
Did you see the lineup for Christmas on BBC One and ITV?
No, I haven't seen that.
Did you see it?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Strictly Come X Factor thing. Yeah.
There's not a programme on both channels that you would watch from 7 o'clock until 11:30.
Well, the BBC, your employers will appreciate you.
Not a programme.
The listeners know that.
It's a disgrace.
And the other one was, remember the one they used to show before The Great Escape? It was She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. You remember they used to show that all the time? She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. Do you remember that?
Me?
Hello? Yes. Do you remember that?
Are you talking to me or John?
No, I'm talking to anybody who answers.
Right.
She used to play She Wore a Yellow Ribbon
at Christmas
all the time. I think you know my opinion about John Wayne. We've had this conversation before, but the point I was trying to make, and there's a great relationship between The Great Escape and Belfast. That was a man called Terry Hill who taught Steve McQueen how to ride a bike off-road.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Terry Hill.
Now, if you ever look at the credits of The Great Escape, Steve McQueen, Richard Attenborough, and your boy Gardner, who was Maverick, were the co-producers.
Yes.
Had a big influence in it.
Is that
and
right?
What happened was Terry Hill was signed up by the British Army to train sports riders. This colonel in question asked him if he wouldn't mind teaching this young American guy to ride a bike off-road.
Yes.
So Terry took him under his wing, ride a bike, and at night they used to have a drum.
Yeah, sorry about that. There's a bit of static coming in there. Sorry, I don't know how that's... Anyway, go ahead. So his name is Terry Hill and he's in Belfast?
East Belfast. He owned the Hill Engineering Works.
Can we ring him back?
Yeah, can we ring you back? Yeah, that's really annoying. That. Can we ring you back?
Okay.
Hang up, John. We'll
okay,
ring
right.
You back.
All right, then. That's so annoying, that, isn't it?
Apparently, people are ringing saying that you played Julia Turner's song Across the Bridge. You played it to death.
We're back. Ready for round two.
This is casting doubts upon my sincerity. No, there's certain things I don't remember.
I know that. We all know that.
This is Julia Turner now.
I was up before the dawn.
This is one of my favourite bands, and nobody likes them except me. Supertramp.
But I must be moving on. Like a king without a castle, like a queen without a throne. I'm an early morning lover, and I must be moving on. Now I believe in what you say is the undisputed truth. But I have to have things my own way to keep me in my youth. Like a ship without an anchor, like a slave without a chain. Just the thought of those sweet ladies as I shiver through my veins. And I will go on shining, shining like brand new. I'll never look behind me, my troubles will be few.
There's something about this band that I always liked. I always thought they were geniuses.
Goodbye, stranger. It's been nice. Hope you find your paradise. Glad to see you. Point of view. Hope your dreams will all come true. Goodbye, Mary. Goodbye, Jane. Will we ever meet again? Feel no sorrow. Feel no shame. Sweet devotion, it's not for me. Just give me motion, set me free. The land and the ocean, far away. Life I've chosen every day. So goodbye, Mary, goodbye, Jane. Will we ever meet again? Now some they do and some they don't, and some you just can't tell. And some they will and some they won't, and some it's just as well. You can laugh at my behavior, that'll never bother me. Say the devil is my savior, but I don't pay no heed. And I will go on shining, shining like brand new. I'll never look behind me, my troubles will be few. Goodbye, stranger. It's been nice.
That's Supertramp, and that's a song called Goodbye Stranger. Remember Carl Verheyen used to come in here and play for us every now and again? He plays with them.
He did indeed.
Isn't that a fantastic piece of information?
It's wonderful, yes. Really.
Great show yesterday, kid.
What about you, Ho?
Sad? What?
No, sorry for interrupting, but the man that you were talking to is there.
Yes.
Sorry.
Is he back again? Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Oh, that's better, okay. No, I'll screech some horrible stuff. So tell me about this man.
This man was a very famous motorcyclist called Terry Hill.
Yes.
And as I said, the course was 6 weeks, and at night, him used to have a little bit of liquid refreshment, and Terry used to tell him, different stories about what had happened to him. And one of the most famous stories was in 1939, Terry and a couple other lads were representing Great Britain in the 6-day trial out in Poland, August 1939.
Yeah.
War broke out.
Right.
And they were stuck there. So they decided to try to make their way back to Britain. And what they did was they rode their motorbikes along railway tracks.
Right.
And at night they sneaked up into the farms and siphoned off the petrol out of the tractors, farmers' tractors.
Yeah.
And that way they were able to make their way home to Britain. It took them 6 weeks.
You mean go along the railway tracks like over the sleepers?
Sorry, what?
Well, when they were riding their motorbikes on the railway tracks? You mean they drove
these were trials bikes, off-road bikes, so people to ride them.
My God.
Along the railway.
Yeah, but not along the railway, probably alongside the railway, I would imagine, yeah?
Well, along the side.
Yeah.
And it took them 6 weeks to get back to Britain.
My God.
Now, Steve McQueen asked Terry Hill if he could include this particular piece of history in the film, and it was. There's two versions of that film. There's a version that lasts 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yes.
And there's another version, I think it's a director's cut, it's called, that lasts 3 hours and minutes.
Really? And is that story in the director's cut, is it? Any reference to that?
The long version.
Is that a fact?
The story of Steve McQueen riding the bike along the railway line is included in the longer version.
Is he telling the story, or do you see him doing that? Do you see Steve McQueen doing that?
This happened in 1939.
Oh,
Terry Hill related to Steve McQueen the story.
I know, but what I mean is, does Steve McQueen actually ride his bike along the railway line?
That's right, yes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, I must have a look at that. It's a great film, actually. Anyone who hasn't seen it should see it. Steve McQueen is wonderful in it.
Right.
And it was kind of ruined by the fact they had it on every Christmas Day, so people thought less of it. Because they say, for God's sake, that movie again. But if you actually look at it and haven't seen it for a long time, it's a really good film.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I didn't know that.
That's history.
Good to know that. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks for coming back to us. Bye. I'm a wee bit worried, because I'm sitting here and it's the year 2011, and you do this all the time. That's because you're like that. I'm sitting talking about Steve McQueen, and I'm probably thinking, how many people out there have any idea who he is? What kind of percentage of people out there do you think would know who Steve McQueen is? How many? Probably nobody under 50. Nobody under 50 would know who Steve McQueen was.
At all.
I know, but see, this is what you don't know. You're sitting there talking about
who?
Ken Maynard. No, but you have to be very careful about this, because we're sitting here and we're talking about Steve McQueen, and I'm always aware of it, but you're never aware of it. You think that everybody knows who Steve McQueen is. I'd say there's not a man under 40 who has any idea who Steve McQueen is.
I would say that's a load of nonsense.
Well, there you are now. I'm just telling you what I think. You may think it's a load of nonsense, and as a matter of fact, you said that.
Yes. Well, why don't we get someone who's under 40 and question them?
Okay.
Right.
There's one beside you. Janet.
Right.
Or maybe she isn't.
Right. Janet, do you know Steve McQueen?
Yes.
Do you know of Steve McQueen?
Yes.
Ask her what age she is.
No, I'm not going to ask.
You only know because you're in here.
Janet says don't be cheeky.
No, you only know because you work with him, for God's sake. Sure. I bet you she knows who Yul Brynner is. That's because she knows who Yul Brynner is. I'm saying, I bet you she knows who Yul Brynner is. Yes. That's because she's exposed.
The king and I, she said.
I know, that's because she's exposed to you all the time. If she was a normal person, she wouldn't know any of these people. Good show yesterday, kid. Thanks to God, Allah and Ken. The great show went off without a hitch. Yesterday was also the day of the great strike. Tommy, my cat, and I had made out banners the night before saying, "One man, one job." Wednesday morning arrived cold and wet, so Tommy and I just sat in front of a roaring fire, picketing our noses. "Up the workers," I yelled. I took another slug of vodka. When it comes to strikes, Tommy and I are Stalinists. Power to the peeps, I roared as I fell off my chair and rolled under the table. Tommy threw another bucket of coal in the fire, raised a clenched fist and bellowed, "Let cards mock and traitors sneer, we'll keep the red flag flying here." As I slipped on a V for Vendetta mask, Tommy put on a V for Vladimir Putin false face and said, "Whom is on strike today?" I watched a fly run up my leg with a hump on its back and replied, "The public sector workers, those hard done by people who only have pensions that will keep them in comfort and they want more." Tommy cleaned between his toes with my tongue and said, "And whom would qualify as a public sector worker?" "Teachers," I said. "Civil servants, uncivil servants, men called Ambrose and women called Breege." "Nurses, eh?" said Tommy. "It's thanks to a nurse that I have a thermometer lodged in my body down below the Mason-Dixon line." "Ouch!" I said. "Deliberate?" "No," said Tommy. "The nurse was very careful and tender. But unfortunately a colostomy bag burst and she impaled me like a Bengal lancer." "Does it still hurt?" I asked. "Not really. Only when I laugh, and only when Michael McGimpsey laughs." "Enough said," I answered, and as penance for my past sins, I ran at a wall with my head. Purgatory is not a place or state I expect to spend too much time in. Hence the head-banging. Self-punishment is better than no punishment at all.
Me chama, não diz nada, vou botar os pés no chão e seguir na estrada. Não pense que o destino é assim tão cruel. Na vida cada um representa seu papel. Não perca seu tempo nessa confusão. Eu vou fazer as minhas malas e seguir com decisão. Já tô com o pé na estrada e não vou mais voltar. Não vou, não vou, não vou. Já tô com o pé na estrada, não vou mais voltar. Já tô com o pé na estrada e não vou mais voltar. Não vou, não vou, não vou. Já tô com o pé na estrada e não vou mais voltar.
There we go. That's a familiar song, sung unfamiliarly. That's Hit the Road Jack by a band called Mo Horizons, M-O-H-O-R-I-Z, whatever the exclamation point, H-O-R-I-Z-O-N-S. Here's an important message. Ciara said, I was listening to your show yesterday and heard you play a song from a girl called Emma Reid. After the song was played, you were unsure about the name of the song and went on to another topic and said you were going to come back to it, but you never did. I've never heard this song before by this girl, and it was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? It was put on Facebook with a video clip. The story behind this song is about the suicide of her older brother. The song has a lot of meaning behind it, and it deeply touched the heart of me. I was very disappointed and annoyed yesterday with your presentation of this fantastic up-and-coming artist. You never promoted her in a way that she should have been, and I feel that the audience would have been more interested in listening to more information about this girl and the story behind this song than listening to the man who you had on later making the animal sounds. Well, to be fair now, I was not aware of that. I just treated it as a piece of music, but it's interesting you should say that, and I'm looking at it differently. I'm going to play more of her, actually, because she's very good. The fact that this song... Go back to the email. The fact that this song was created to make more people aware of suicide and the impact it has on those people who love them dearly makes it more special. And I personally feel that this needs to be put across. I feel so too, actually. Because I made a documentary recently about suicide with the PIPS people. P-I-P-S, you'll probably know of them. Please don't take this as a personal criticism. I just feel it is a topic that should be promoted and a topic that is of deep importance to people. And the fact that this girl has created this herself is very special and should be highly credited. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this. Well, those are my thoughts. You're absolutely right. I wasn't aware of that, but I'll listen to it differently. And the next time I play it, I'll try and find out a wee bit more about it. So there we are. Is there someone on the line here, Mr. Coyle?
Yes,
There's
Brenda.
no much point in really talking to him,
Well,
is
could you
there?
wee quickie?
Brenda, hello?
Good morning, Gerry.
Brenda, we don't have all that much time. We have a minute and a half. Is that enough to get your message across, I wonder?
Oh, absolutely. Tonight, I just would like to invite everybody along to Ballyhackamore, where we are having our first ever Christmas light switch on. Kick-off's at 6:30, where we have a Christmas market by all the traders. Lots of wine tasting, mulled wines, free teas, coffees, cupcakes, mince pies, all the traditional stuff. Then we have the fabulous two school local choirs. And at 7:15, we have our switch on with the fabulous Zoe Salmon and Alderman Stalford from Belfast City Council.
What a coincidence you happen to have Zoe Salmon. Zoe Salmon and I have done many personal appearances together. I'm rather disappointed that you didn't call upon my services. Zoe and I make a lovely, beautiful couple. I'm not dear. Zoe would have wanted me there. And if you see her tonight, tell her that I couldn't make it. But I'm somehow disappointed. But that's okay. I know you probably didn't think of me.
Maybe next year, Gerry.
You didn't know that Zoe was in love with me. You didn't know that.
Wish everyone's in love with you, Gerry.
No.
Absolutely.
Her in particular. Will you say hello to her for me? I think she's lovely.
I will indeed.
Her and I have done various things
all
together.
About you.
I know it is.
What
yeah.
about the Christmas lights that have been switched on?
She told us about that. Ballyhackamore tonight, what time, man?
Ballyhackamore, 6:30 until 8:30.
All right then, have a great night.
Just tell Sean Coyle my mother loves him.